Sana, and this is the space where we go beyond surface self care and step into radical self awareness. Now, listeners, today's episode dives into a truth many of us quietly carry emotional pain. It doesn't just go away, no matter how hard we try to push past it. And what if the pain we carry isn't just in our mind, but it's in our nervous system, in our breath, in the parts of us that never got to say, that hurt me? And how do we truly heal when we feel stuck in the past? And how do we release old wounds that still shape our present? So many questions, right? Well, today we are joined by Irina Shehovsov, a transformational coach, founder of Reclaim Your Life, and the best-selling author of The Gift Inside. Now, listeners, Irina specializes in helping women over 40 heal after heartbreak, rediscover their self worth, and move forward with grounded joy. She's also the host of two powerful podcasts and founder of the Happiness Academy, where she teaches women how to live with wellness, dream boldly, and grow through continuous self discovery. So, together we'll unpack the power of nervous system regulation, subconscious belief rewiring, and how real transformation begins quietly, deeply, and intentionally. So, Irina, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Anna. It is a pleasure to be here.
Mm. Irina, okay. To begin with, before we talk about emotional pain and nervous system regulation. I believe we all would love to, uh, explore a bit about your journey. Like, what led you to get into this world of understanding emotional pain and nervous system regulation?
Yeah. So my personal journey of becoming a single parent of newborn and a 5-year-old and waiting for somebody to come rescue me, but of course nobody did. Living in the continuous pain and misery for about a year until I said I can no longer live like that and I gotta do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, And my journey started with physical health and improving my physical health, taking care of that little by little. And then emotional, mental, and spiritual, because I believe we are holistic beings and we operate in four states of being simultaneously. And it is up to us to create the habits that allow us to thrive as opposed to habits that drain us. So that kind of led me on a journey of discovering what is possible and the emotional pain that what I learned that it doesn't just it's invisible because we go through a day, we plaster on a smile because we show to the outside world, but inside we could be collapsing, we could be breaking,
That's true.
and it takes a toll. If we don't address those emotions, they can manifest as disease. So that was the journey.
That is so true. And that is heartbreaking and unfortunate because you very rightfully said that on outside we may be smiling, we may look happy or healthy, but inside it's like it's collapsing. It's kind of in culture that. We all expect, so many of us, we expect that emotional pain will just get resolved with time. It's, like either we rip off that bandage or just move on with it. Why do you think that happens, and what actually happens when we don't tend to it?
Yeah, I know they say time heal all wounds,
Yeah,
but if you don't do anything, it's actually it does not happen. If because you can still be triggered, you can still feel numb. In my personal journey, I felt nothing. I couldn't feel anything. like pain, happy or sad, everything just was even, and you still replay messages of the past in your head. And when we do that, we basically recreate the same future for ourselves as happened in the past. And of course, it is understandable when we are triggered, when we're in the depths of it. It's difficult to see anything but the past. But every day is a gift, and it is called the present. And little by little, we gotta come out of it. And the practices that we can employ to start coming out of it first is becoming aware what is happening, becoming aware that we are recalling the negative events of the past, and then taking personal responsibility for your life. And I'm not talking about blaming yourself for what happened, but rather having the power and courage to write what comes next.
Exactly. Yeah, but it does take time. It does take time. It doesn't happen overnight, right, Irina?
Yes, totally. Yes, yes.
Ah,
Practicing
yeah,
gratitude and forgiveness, I think, is so important. Gratitude allows us to notice on what is working in our life. Sometimes we take things for granted until they disappear. Simple things like walking, breathing, seeing, feeling, experiencing things, having a roof over your head. We don't take those things. And if we start noticing what's working in our life, it will become easier to see what else is working. And forgiveness, why forgiveness is important, forgiving yourself, the person who you were, forgiving the other person and the relationship or the situation that you were in. You're doing it for yourself, and it will allow you to step freely then into the future without carrying that baggage. You don't even have to tell anybody you have forgiven them. You have to do that work internally inside of yourself. Because if you don't, it's like you sip on poison by recalling those negative events and difficult situations, and you're hoping the other person will get sick, but they don't. We do if we don't address that.
exactly, exactly. And that's hard hitting. That's hard hitting, as you mentioned that, um, yes, if we have been wronged or you know bad things have been done to us, but if we just keep on, it's like sipping on the poison, we are doing bad to us, not to the person who did that. So
Yeah.
it's like we're harming ourselves. um and you also mentioned in your journey initially that, these emotional this emotional pain, uh, it also kinds of affects our health. um and nervous system is one of the most crucial aspects of our health, and you often focus on that. So for those who hear this term, nervous system regulation, but they feel unsure, what it really means, how would you explain it in the context of emotional healing?
Yeah, totally. A simple example of a nervous system regulation would be, imagine a gazelle grazing on a pasture nearby, and suddenly saber-toothed tiger comes.
Oh,
So gazelle gets into motion, starts running, then gets herself into a safe place. And a moment later, you would look at that picture and you notice gazelle continues to gracefully go walking around on the pasture like nothing happened.
yeah.
Unfortunately, and here is the nervous regulation at work. In the moment when there was immediate danger of the tiger coming in, Gazelle got all of her equipment and she ran for her life until she was safe. And this is that flight or fight response. And once she was able to get herself into a safe space, she eased into it and she carried on with her day like nothing happened. Unfortunately, what happens, this is a good time, this is how it's supposed to work. But in our real life, I mean, in the life of today, what happens is that stressful event it's not a saber-tooth tiger running after us, but let's say it was a negative situation that took place a decade ago. And it meant it happened, yes. And I'm not uh, minimizing that fact that it happened. But what happens is we carry on that emotional pain that took place a decade ago, and we're bringing it into our every single day. We're keeping it alive. So original intention, you know how they say positive emotions and negative emotions? Negative emotions are not really bad. All they're doing is they're working as an alert mechanism to tell our body no if something is not in the best of our interest, in the best for our body, for our system. So when a negative emotions, when you feel a feeling of uneasiness, something doesn't feel good inside, whether it's in your throat, in your stomach, or anywhere in your body, it is your body's way of telling you that the decision you are making or where you're stepping, the choice you're making is not good for you. But we ignore that fact. So negative emotions are not bad. They're just like alert mechanism telling us which direction to go. If you feel uneasy, don't go in that direction. And another point again that we carry on with this emotional baggage for so many years. Something could have taken happened 10 years ago, but because we are being deeply hurt, we keep on replaying that scenario in our head every single day. But every time we do, we don't just replay pieces of conversation. We don't just visualize the faces of the people who hurt us. We also recall everything that happened in that moment in time. We recall all of the intense pain, all of the intense emotions that we were experiencing. It happened many, many years ago, but every time we recall it, we make it real for ourselves. Our mind make it real because there is no past, there is no future for a mind. Everything is taken literally and everything is right here, right now. So even though it took place, let's say many, many years ago, but when we say it, we make it real for ourselves and we get to feel and experience this as if it is happening right here, right now. And over time, what happens when we don't process our emotions? That layer, we get to lay one on top of the other of this heavy, toxic thing that, like, and then you have a whole sandwich of this. If you don't let it go, if you don't release it. And what happens if we don't address it, if we're not listening to our body, then it can manifest in a disease. Like we said earlier, we sip on poison and hoping the other person gets hurt. We get hurt because of all of the accumulated baggage that we didn't let go of, that is still inside of us. On outside, you can see anything. On outside, everything looks good. But on the inside, it's this turmoil that occurs, this heaviness that keeps on happening.
Totally, totally. And I really loved the example that you mentioned along with this because that really kind of beautifully connects the mind and the body here. And as you mentioned, it's a holistic effect. It's a holistic dent that that harboring the emotional pain can actually take a toll on both our minds and bodies. And Irina, uh, I mean, yes, you have had trials and tribulations, and you have navigated through that phase. But when you realized it, what was the first step that you took? Um, like, the first practice, or maybe it was some self realization that happened to you?
When it comes to emotional healing, maybe if I look back, I was joining Toastmasters and allowing to remember how I said we need to release our emotions. So joining Toastmasters and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, speaking up, then getting a voice coach and learning how to sing. That has been an incredible healing tool, I would say, much better than any psychologist could ever do for me. And I'm not saying psychologists are bad, just in my case, it didn't work out, but singing helped. It allowed me to sing what I couldn't speak. It allowed me to express and release emotions. And then later on, other type of work that I've learned is neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy. Neurolinguistic programming is like a manual for your mind where you get to learn why you think the way you think, not what you think, but the process, and how we have so many layers and levels through which interceptions and filters in which we see our world and what's happening around us. There is a great practice in timeline therapy of releasing limiting decisions and negative emotions. And what it does, you go back in the past, and instead of bringing all the trauma, you're looking at it from a safe distance. You're looking at it with a whole purpose is going back and learning what is that particular event taught me, what can I like as a lesson, and what can I take it from there and bring it with this newfound knowledge, something positive about yourself and that you can take. And then next time you make a decision, you're going to make a different decision based on what you have unwinded. And in that same process, you get to unwind all those triggers, emotional events as they happen throughout our life, or sometimes even before our life. And you get to go back, find what that event was, get your learning from there, and then bring it into your present reality. And that had been so like almost magical. You get like a second lease of on life. You go back, you see what it like your lessons, and then you come back and you reintegrate all of that. And that had been incredible as well. And then simple practices for nervous system regulation and emotional release, additional ones could be breath work, could be grounding, movement. Movement is such an amazing thing. It's the quickest thing you can do to change your state. If you feel bad, if you feel sad, if you feel angry, for angry, do tennis. You can get all of your anger out in that racket and swing it across. And then for any other kind of thing, anytime you want to change your state, just move. Simple walk around the block, get you unwind, get your negative things out of your mind, enjoy nature, becoming present, like looking at things that are surrounding us and being right there. So those are some of the things we can do to release that.
That is that is absolutely wonderful, especially movement. That is such an effective and very simple, available to easily accessible. Any kind of movement. It can be walking, running, creative ways like art, music, dance. They can also writing, journaling, breath work, of course. I mean, so many channels and modalities out there. And yes, something which may work for you may not work for others. So it's not one size fits all. So yeah, that is absolutely. I agree with you, Irina. And now this is one of my favorite aspect of this conversation. That since you work with women, especially who are above 40 and who have come out of long-term relationships. Now, I don't know. I may sound like a bit gender specific, but and we are biologically maybe programmed like that, that we are emotionally sensitive, and especially when it comes to long-term relationships, it's so hard to move on. It's so hard to keep ourselves distracted from letting go of the memories, the thoughts, the anger, the frustration. So, and that particular anger and frustration, especially, Rina, it like creeps in our work life or in our bodies, in anything that we are doing, and that is really very very concerning. So, what are some common emotional patterns you see at this stage, and why do you think reclaiming identity is such a key piece of the healing.
Yeah. So the main problems I see is being not good enough. When I think that's the most important one. And then what happens is kind of why we lose ourselves, because we have this, like you said, gender specific, but nurturing of others, taking care of others, people pleasing,
Yeah.
doing things for others, and we put ourselves onto the last spot.
Yeah.
But what happens is when we do that, like, who is gonna come take care of us? And then we lose our identity as a result, because we are someone else's mom, someone else's spouse. But who are you? On a personal level, what makes you who you are? And you don't need to, reach for the stars. You are already enough as you are, but you gotta recognize that. You gotta take care of yourself. You know how they say self-care and self-love, but it is an essential component of fulfilling our batteries. We're not energizer bunnies. We gotta make sure our glass is full, our battery is full. Before we can show up for anybody else, we have to first show up for ourselves in the best way possible. Not stressed out, exhausted, angry, frustrated. Of course, those things happen in the life. I'm not saying, everything is rainbow and unicorns all the time, but we have to take care of ourselves. And we know, how to make, I don't know if you like cooking, but you have a perfect recipe for something, and you know all the ingredients and in the right cadence and in the right order that you have to put them in. Similarly, our life is, imagine it's a beautiful cake. And what are the ingredients that make it beautiful? In which order do you put them in? So practices, what kind of practices allow you to be the best person that you can be? Maybe you need time by yourself in the morning where you get to do the things that set your soul on fire. I know we might say, oh, I don't have time. I have to take care of my kids. I have this, and this. But what about you? If you did not fulfill yourself, what kind of person shows up? Not the best version of you, the tired version of you. So setting aside time for yourself and doing something for you, just for you. So I'm a great believer in morning routines. I'm saying that's not important when you wake up, but how you wake up. What are some of the practices? What are some key ingredients that you can use to bring yourself to the best possible version of you? Things like, first thing, as soon as you get out of bed, say 3 things you're grateful for. As soon as your feet hit the floor. And it could be simple things. The fact that you're awake, the sun is out, and you're able to stand today. Simple 3 things, right? And then next thing, move yourself. Go on a walk if that's what you like, or do 5 minutes of Pilates or yoga. Practice meditation. I call it the inner shower of the mind. You know how in the morning we wake up, we like to shower, we like to feel clean, but what about our internal mind? We gotta brainwash some of that as well. Get some good thoughts in there. Then reading something empowering or listening to podcasts like this, getting good things into your mind, because it's not what we just put in the mouth, it's everything. It's our environment, it's the ideas that we listen to, it's the things we watch. All of that affects how we feel. So in the morning, give yourself that power boost, this positive thing that allows you to be the best person that you can be. If you don't have an hour, take 5 minutes for yourself, do something micro thing. But when you fulfill your cup first, you can then show up better for yourself. You're gonna feel better about yourself. I noticed with myself when I started my journey, I was taking simple morning walks, like nothing, right? It's just a walk. But when you take the time for yourself to fulfill yourself, you feel that you are worth it, you are enough. Then I come from my walk. I wanna eat good, so I'll make a beautiful green smoothie. I have that intention, and I'm empowered to then continue taking care of me and doing things that are good for me, as opposed to, you know, otherwise. So yes.
Those are some really, really great tips, suggestions, and it's really interesting to see, Irina, that healing it seems to involve not just letting go of the past, but it's kind of, as you mentioned, it's a reinvention of yourself and to a person that you were before the pain. And you also say that happiness is something that we generate from within, not something we chase. So, uh, before we wrap up, in a world that is constantly, pushing for more and more outer success, more and more validation, external validation, how do you guide people to tap into that inner well of joy?
Yeah, I say life is about experiences, not about accumulating more and more material things and finding that, oh, I'm gonna get this career and I'm gonna be happy, or I'm gonna get this guy, I'll be happy. It's not in that pursuit of yeah, pursuit is great, but internally, inside, we all have the answers that we seek. We all have the resources and the tools, but oftentimes what happens is we hear our voice of ego screaming when something is triggering, when something is going against us. But there is also another kind of voice inside of us, this quiet voice that is always ready as soon as you are willing to listen to it. And one other ways, I'm great believer in hobbies. I believe in hobbies we discover who we are. And I recommend to people to practice 10 minutes of joy every day. Do something that sets your soul on fire, wherever it is for you, whether it's art, whether it's creating something, cooking, baking. For me, it is singing. Every day, 10 minutes or more, I sing. And you're doing it for yourself to feel yourself in that, not because you're going to get clients or you're going to get something monetary, but something internal that feeds your soul. Do that for yourself and finding, what your gift is and how, and then sharing it with others. Because we are all here, we all have a talent, we all have a gift inside of us, and it is our job to find out what it is and then share it with others.
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. Brilliant. So, Irina, if listeners they would like to connect with you and also get a hold of your book, The Gift Inside, listen to your podcasts, explore your work at the Happiness Academy, what would be the best way?
So my website is www.irinashehovsov.com. And then there is a YouTube channel, Happiness Academy _. Podcasts are available on the podcasting platforms like Apple, Spotify, and so on. And my books are available on Amazon. If you search my name, Shehovsov, my last name, you'll find all the books, and they're on my website as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'll make sure to have all the links mentioned in the show notes. And Irina, this was such a beautiful, authentic, raw, and real conversation. And I absolutely appreciate you for showing us that, uh, you know, transformation isn't just about getting over it, but learning how to um, kind of tame it or embrace it, and then also gently meet ourselves where we are. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much, Sana.
And to all the listeners out there, well, this was a soul deep dive. And if you are still here, healing doesn't come with a timeline or a checklist, but it starts with being brave enough to look inside out. Until next time, take a breath, take a beat, and keep choosing you to connect with Irina through her podcasts, books, and the Happiness Academy. All of them are linked in the show notes. And thank you for listening to the Mindful.